What's brought you here?
Well, interestingly, way back in January of this year, a dear friend reached out to me because of a friend that he had, an associate he had called Blind Dave, and he was going to do this fabulous challenge. But his inspiration came from an individual from the First World War. And he thought it would be right that I got engaged because my current role, I'm the Chief Executive of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders Regimental Museum in Stirling Castle. And part of our legacy is learning and never forgetting, and this very much sits within the realms of learning and never forgetting and promoting, you know, what happened back in the First World War. So Douglas Gillespie was a young scholar at Winchester College studying law. He was reading the bar. And then the First World War broke out. His younger brother had formerly joined, he joined in 1914, but he joined the King's Own Scottish Borderers. But Douglas decided to follow his brother's footsteps, joining the 4th Battalion of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. And then in early of 1915, he decided to, well, he wasn't decided, he asked that he go forward to the front line. And then he joined the 2nd Battalion of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders in the sort of February of 1915. He was a very, very keen sort of botanist in growing flowers, vegetables, and something that we've been bringing to the fore through our learning and never forgetting legacy is what him and his soldiers did in the First World War in the trenches. Through all this squalor and death and murder that he was facing, his soldiers and himself took upon themselves to grow vegetables, to survive, to help enhance their diet in the trenches, but also to grow flowers. There's a story where a good friend of his mother sent out a book about botany to the trenches and were loaded of seeds, so his soldiers were asking for seeds to be sent to the front line. And this became something that no one really knows about, growing vegetables and flowers. Flowers to sort of raise the morale of the troops in no man's land. We had an exhibition about the trench gardens that we sort of shared in the museum. And then we sent it to Winchester because Winchester were very keen because of Douglas Gillespie's connection to the college. They have now since made a path, a lawned path through the cloisters at Winchester College with a stone of some of the famous words that he written 100 years ago and were only found 100 years after by Anthony Selden, who was the master at Winchester College. And so from that, Anthony Selden, decided to come on a sort of pilgrimage himself, having read the words that Douglas had put into his letter to the head master back in 1915. After this great war, he said, there needs to be a via sacra, meaning a path of peace. And all men, children and women must make a pilgrimage. And there should be lime trees, fruit trees that they walk to remember the people who have gone in this drastic war. So yeah, that's very much where Douglas Gillespie comes from. I mean, I didn't know Douglas Gillespie at all, but I very much now start to understand how inspirational the man was in the trenches in 1915 when you know, he's just seen death and or in front of him, and then he takes upon himself to write this letter to his master, which is lost for 100 years in the archives and then re-found, and then now we're where we are on the Western Front Way. With the inspiration, you know, Blind Dave, who's inspiration in himself, now bringing to the fore the Western Front Way, and I had to come on this as being a keen cyclist, and then having spoken to Blind Dave on the phone. I had never met the guy in my life. He became an inspiration to me to say, well, if you can do it, Dave, me, as a man who's just turned 60 this month, I need to come along and be part of your journey and your challenge, and that's very much why I'm here.
How do you feel now as a fully paid member of Team Blind Dave?
I'm extremely proud to be part of what Dave's achieving. When you think of the charity and the Albion Foundation and what the great work they're doing in the community. I've spoke to the director, the assistant director on the way down, driving down the early hours of Thursday morning, And to keep ourselves awake, we were talking about the great work that the foundation were doing, and to get the community involved, regardless of age, whether it's a young junior to an old age pensioner, everything in between, the foundation are doing a marvellous job. And for this, where we're raising money for children with disability and inspiring these young children to go into sport, you know, Paralympics. I mean, it's unbelievable. And if we think of the men in the First World War who were in these trenches for days, months, in squalor, rats infested, you know, up to their eyes in mud. And they're then given the order that they're going over the top at a certain time on a certain day, knowing they're probably not going to see the next day. And that really hits home as a soldier, that you know you're going into something that potentially you're never going to come out of. And you think of I mean, for the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, 431 officers died, 475 Argyll's other ranks died. That's 7,000 men, near enough. If you imagine it was 10 battalions of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders were in the Western Front Way, only 3,000 came back, not including the war, you know, they've been wounded, etc. So, yeah, this for me, you know, yes, I will have pain, muscle pain, fatigue, but nothing to what these, you know, Douglas and all men in the First World War went through.